Hey, what's up everyone and welcome to today's video. This episode will guide you through the issues of the New Mutants published by Marvel Comics in 1983. Issue number 7. Roberto is standing on the shores of Big Sur close to San Francisco. His mutant powers are what saved him and his friends, as the explosion caused several boulders to come at them. His strength allowed him to smash them to pieces. Once they hit the waters below, he also managed to save his friend and teammate Sam, who didn't know how to swim and was struggling to keep his head above the water. Slowly but surely, the other members made their way to safety. All but one. It seems like they had lost Sean in the ambush. It's an anticlimax after they had just saved their teammate Danielle from the clutches of Viper and the Silver Samurai. He meets back up with his teammates who had been looking for him. He needed some time for himself. He's gotten wet and Danielle gives him her jacket before he catches a cold. He asks Sam if they had heard anything from Sean, but the X-Men and Xavier, who had continued the search, have not found anything. Roberto is losing hope in finding Sean since it's been days, and Rain tells him to not say these kinds of things, as she panics and asks Danielle what they will tell Sean's siblings. Roberto asks Sam what kind of heroes they really are if they couldn't find Sean nor capture her killers. They walk towards Professor Xavier and the X-Men. Colossus tells Xavier that they've checked with every local hospital and police station. Kurt sees the kids arriving and teleports to them, to bring them some hot cocoa. This startles Rain since she's still not used to Kurt's looks and she calls him a demon. But Kurt assures her that he is as much a human as they are. Storm says they could really use Wolverine right now with his tracking abilities, and Rain asks if maybe she can help in a wolf form. Storm tells her that she might, but Wolverine's expertise might point him in directions that she might miss. Roberto asks Xavier why he was summoned, and he tells him that there's someone here to meet him. It's his mother Nina. They haven't seen each other for a while, and Roberto wasn't even aware of his mother knowing he's a mutant, but apparently his father had told her. She has not always been there for Roberto, due to her work and passion of being an archaeologist. She'll be going on another expedition soon, and she invited the New Mutants to come join her. Professor Xavier thinks this is a good idea, but Roberto asks him what about trying to find Sean. Xavier says it's a job that's better suited for the X-Men team, but Roberto does not like deserting Sean like that. He's getting angry with Xavier because he blames Xavier for Sean's disappearance, since he was preoccupied with overseeing Team America's part in the whole Viper incident. Roberto walks off angry, telling Xavier that maybe it's time for him to quit the team. Nightcrawler and Colossus ask Charles if this was necessary, and Charles explains that ever since they arrived here, he sensed a powerful entity with evil intent. He also says that he's convinced that Sean is still alive because he would have felt it if she had died. He's fearful of the unknown entity to attack again, and if it does, he wants the New Mutants team to be as far away as possible. And if he had told Roberto about this, or the whole team for that matter, they would have wanted to stay and do whatever they can to save Sean. All in all, Xavier would much rather have the New Mutants think him a heartless man and stay alive, than lose them in a dangerous situation. Somewhat close by, Roberto releases his anger and frustration of losing two good-hearted young girls, his girlfriend Juliana and their team leader Sean, and not being able to save them, regardless of all the power his mutant abilities give him. Sam approaches him and tells him how powerless he felt when his father died, and how that changed everything in his life. He tells him about the plans they had for the future, and how losing his father forced him to become the man in their household. Roberto is losing his patience and tells Sam to get to the point. Sam tells him that sometimes life simply throws curveballs at you, and all you can do is cope as best as you can and keep on living. Roberto asks him if he means that they should just blindly follow Xavier's orders then, and Danielle chimes in telling him that no, they shouldn't just blindly follow his orders, but in this case, Xavier is right. She tells him that if they stay, Xavier and the X-Men will have to be worrying about them as well, and won't be able to give their full attention to trying to find Sean. Roberto says that he misses Sean, and Danny says that they all do. 1 week later, the team arrives at one of the largest mansions in Rio de Janeiro. It's owned by Roberto's father, who grew up here as a houseboy, and he swore that he would someday own this palace, which was built by a prince about a century ago. He was able to get it done while his mother was still alive, and make sure that she became the mistress of the estate where she was once a maid. The butler welcomes Roberto's mother and them both, but acts kind of snobbish to the rest of the guests. Danny can't help but react sarcastically. The dinner table is set, and Roberto's father, Emmanuel, had heard about one of his guests having been to Rio before and asked about it. Danny says that she's been here before, along with a friend, and Emmanuel asks her why the friend is currently not with him. Roberto's mother Nina tells him that is the girl who is currently lost. He apologizes and sneeringly asks Nina where she will be going this time around. And Roberto is starting to feel embarrassed because they are just as hostile to one another as he remembered. Nina tells Emmanuel that he already knows where she is going, because he is sending geologists to the same area. Emmanuel says that he will send anyone anywhere as long as there is a profit to be made. Nina asks if it's really necessary to gain more profits, and Emmanuel asks her if she would rather have been living like his parents had, poor. Something which she had never had to experience, and he asks if she would have wanted that for herself and her son. She tells him that she would rather be happy, to which he responds, he is happy. The situation escalates, with Roberto's mother and father getting more snappy to one another, which is becoming very awkward for Roberto and his friends. Nina tells her husband that this thing he calls progress is actually madness, namely trying to claim and own a part of the rainforest, destroying it bit by bit, while endangering the whole ecosystem, destroying the future by trying to rule the present. Roberto's father tells his wife he knew she was an idealist, but never realized before how much of a fool she is. He leaves and tells everyone good night. The day after, Nina and the team tour the city. Apart from Roberto and his mother, everyone is experiencing Carnival for the first time. Sam is amazed at the amount of pretty girls in scarce clothing as he gets kissed by one of them. Danielle taunts him while he blushes, and Rain says that he should be ashamed of himself. Danny says that maybe they should find themselves some carnival costumes and join in on the party, which catches Rain even more off guard. Danny asks Roberto about the situation last night between his mother and father and asks him if everything is alright, but Roberto seems not happy with the situation at all. They walk up to a carnival costume shop and Nina tells them that they will be wearing whatever they get in there to the governor's ball tomorrow. They enter the shop as they are being watched by people that plan to ambush them. The team tries out some costumes as the clerk tells Nina that she's wanted outside by a chauffeur. Nina thinks that Emmanuel sent the chauffeur and tells the kids to get the clothes back on and meet her outside. But as she walks outside, she gets abducted. Sam notices this and blasts outside using his powers, because he recognized the goons wearing Hellfire Club uniforms. As he's about to chase the car, knowing that he can catch up to it, he gets hit in the face by an axe, slamming him into a nearby building which collapses on top of him. The rest of the team run out, not sure whether they should go after the car or help Sam out. Someone tells them they should probably mind their own business, and as they turn around, they see a towering figure who calls himself Axe. Roberto doesn't like being threatened, powers up and attacks him, but Axe punches him with one powerful strike. Danielle tries to help out by summoning his deepest fear, but Axe seems to have none, and he deals with her as easily as he did with Roberto, as he mockingly tells Rain that running off is probably the smartest move. Axe runs off himself, steps into a car and drives off. Sam emerges out of the rubble and figures it's no real use chasing this guy and winding up in more troubles, so he heads for his friends instead. He wonders what the Hellfire Club would want with Roberto's mother and if they're trying to get back at them through her. He asks Danielle and Roberto where Rain is, as Roberto tells the shop clerk to call the police, but she's more concerned with the shop, which is wrecked. Roberto tells her that his father will take care of everything. Danielle gets into contact with Rain through their psychic rapport, and Rain informed her that after she ran away from Axe, she changed into wolf form and is now hot on their trail. In the evening, they have all gathered at the hideout of the Hellfire Club's troops, thanks to Rain's directions. Sam wants to rush in, but Roberto tells him the goons are cold-blooded killers, and he wants to avoid another crossfire in which one of his loved ones might get killed, just like Juliana had been. Danielle contacts Rain as she's spying on them. She finds out that Nina is in no danger, because they're waiting for their employer to arrive in the morning, unless they get attacked of course. Something which Sam says triggers an idea in Roberto's mind. The alliance of the Hellfire Club soldiers and the mutant Axe is pretty tense, as they hear some howling outside, which rattles the soldiers. Axe makes fun of them for being wimps, calls them clowns, and says that he was told he would be working with men instead. Axe's attitude is getting on the soldiers' nerves. They've heard the place they're hiding out in is haunted, and X says that he doesn't care. He tells one of the guys to search the place then, if he has the guts. He does, being annoyed with the presence of and the mockery of the mutant X, but instantly regrets it, as the place is pitch dark and he thinks to himself that he should have asked one of the other guys to come along with him. He hears a voice, turns around and sees an apparition of 3 girls, who tell him there's nothing to be afraid of and that they're just looking for a good time. They lure him in, and as he gets close, their visages change into something demonic looking and the soldier falls back down the stairs. Of course these apparitions appeared due to Psyche's mutant abilities, but pulling both desires and fears out of the soldier's mind took a lot out of her. Wolfsbane and her get discovered by the other soldiers, whose nerves are on the edge already, and they fire the guns at them as a reaction to one of their own seemingly having been attacked. Danielle pushes herself to the limit even more by using her powers on the rest of the soldiers as well. Danielle knows that this has to be done, but the images she's pulling out of their minds are so lifelike that the terrors which they are experiencing shows even through their masks. Wolfsbane jumps down, changing back and forth into a wolf form and attacks the men, as Psyche runs down and punches one of them in the face. Rain is surprised at the power she possesses in half-wolf form, and Danielle is happy with the result they got in doing their part of the plan. The rest is now up to the guys. Sunspot smashes through the wall of the room X is holding his mother in, and X threatens Sunspot to stop right there or he will gut his mother. Sunspot tells him that his threats do not impress him, as he smashes the wooden floors, which catch X off guard and he loses his balance. Cannonball enters and he asks Roberto if he's sure about this. Roberto tells him that this is between X and him and that Sam should just do his part. Cannonball thinks to himself he hopes he's making the right decision in leaving Roberto behind, as he picks up Nina and flies her out of there. Sunspot tells X to get back on his feet, and X tells him he's going to make him pay. They end up in a fight, and Sunspot tells X that he caught him by surprise the first time around, and he won't be so lucky this time around. Sunspot then beats him up and knocks him out cold. During the next couple of days, the preparations for the trip to the Amazon has been delayed by the police investigations of Nina's abduction. Roberto's worried about his mother and thinks she's still in danger. His teammates try to comfort him as much as they can. A car is standing close by, and inside it are Emmanuel and Sebastian Shaw of the Hellfire Club. They are discussing the failure of Shaw's apparatus and how that fact is not tempting Emmanuel to join the Hellfire Club at all. Sebastian Shaw tells Emmanuel that him not wanting Nina to get hurt created problems, next to X not being able to deal with the new mutants, which Shaw had hoped he would have been able to. Sebastian tells Emmanuel that the Hellfire Club is still willing to offer assistance. Emmanuel tells him in return that that won't be necessary. Alternative plans have already been made and Nina will not reach the Amazon. And Shaw then asks him if he would even be willing to risk the death of his wife and son to achieve his goals. Thanks for watching this video, and I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please hit the like button and consider subscribing to the channel if you haven't done so already, because that will help me out in growing this channel and being able to produce more videos like this one. See you next episode.